Hey gang, welcome to Gdansk. So this is a quick video to show you some of the sites that you can visit that are connected to the Second World War. Now, I'm absolutely no expert, I'm just a tourist, but I'll tell you a bit of what I've learned along the way. I'll also publish another video about the fun stuff to do in Gdansk. The beautiful city of Gdansk, it's a port on the Baltic Sea. It's an amazing medieval city that has been completely rebuilt, because sadly it had been 95% destroyed at the end of the Second World War. And just a few miles outside of the city center, that was also the site of the first battle of World War II. Now, the city was actually destroyed by the Russians. Whose fault is it, though? This is debatable, because the Nazis decided to defend the city. If you compare to, for example, Paris, when the Allies liberated Paris, the Nazis left fairly quickly, or they drove the fight outside of the old town to protect the city. The Nazis really tried to defend Gdansk because they wanted to protect their shipyards that were here, with all of the secrets of their submarines. If you go behind the beautiful train station, climb up the hill, you can discover the site from which the Russians destroyed everything. And on your way, you might come across this. This is the cemetery of lost cemeteries. Some local graveyards were completely destroyed by the bombings. So they've created this lovely little garden of remembrance to remember the graves that are gone. That hill is called Gora Gradova. So if you have the energy to climb up, there's a lovely viewpoint over the city at the top. And it is rumored that there might be a treasure buried under the hill. Albert Forster was the main Nazi politician here in the free city of Danzig. That is how Gdansk used to be called between the wars. So Albert was responsible for executing many people, and apparently he used to steal their gold, their watches, their jewelry, and at the end of the war he tried to escape with all his gold, but apparently he did not manage, so it is said that the gold might be buried here somewhere. Those fortifications, by the way, they date back to Napoleonic times. Because if you send a cannonball on a fortified wall, it's gonna break it. But if you send a cannonball on a hill, it's not gonna do anything, is it? This place can be a bit scary, by the way. I visited on a Saturday at 9 a.m, so I was alone, and the minute you enter the building, there's some kind of a detector that knows that you're there. And it starts talking to you in Polish, so it can be very creepy with those mannequins and someone talking when you're alone. The exhibition inside, it's all about the times of Napoleon. So I guess we need to explain why did the Nazi want to take Gdansk? Well, Gdansk, or Danzig, as it is known by the Germans, was actually part of Germany for a long time, and most of the population here was actually German and German-speaking. And after the First World War, after the Treaty of Versailles, Gdansk, or the Free City of Danzig, became completely independent. It didn't belong to Germany, it didn't belong to Poland. Most of the population was still German, though, and in 1933, sadly, they voted for the Nazis. So there were 12 years here of Nazi horror. So the atrocities of the Nazi regime started here before 1939. This is the site of the Polish post office, one of the first horror sites of World War II. The Nazis decided to attack the building that was full of innocent Polish workers, 56 people in total. The post office workers had heard about the attack, so they had time to get themselves guns. Inside the building was also a family, the caretaker, his wife, and their little daughter Edwina. 10 years old, she died from the burns from the attack. The Polish workers resisted for hours until they had to capitulate. They were lined up here against the wall, but not executed quite yet. The Nazis wanted to make it look all official, so they actually trialed them and make them pass like terrorists and then executed them. Now, to see the site of the first battle of World War II, you can jump on a bus and go to Westerplatte. Now, as we mentioned earlier, Gdansk itself was not part of Poland at the time. And after the First World War, the Nazis were not ready for a new war, but they really wanted to get that territory back. So they tried some called economical war, trying to stop Danzig from doing any business with Poland. So the Polish had to create a new port, Gdynia, a new shipyard, and here in Westerplatte, a military base. That base was attacked by the Nazis in 1939, right here. 182 Polish soldiers very bravely resisted here, so that's why we have a monument for them. Those white letters there, it translates by war never again. You can also get to Westerplatte by those tourist boats, by the way, going down the Motlawa River. And if you fancy learning a bit more about the Second World War, this is the World War II Museum, well worth a visit. In front of the museum, you might come across this lovely statue of Witold Pilecki, inmate 4859. Would you believe that hero volunteered to go to Auschwitz? At the beginning of the war, of course, there was a lot of resistance being organized here in Poland. The Poles never fully capitulated. They are the only country in occupied Europe that never collaborated. And the concentration camps at the beginning were very mysterious, so they had to be infiltrated. Witold actually purposely got captured to be imprisoned at Auschwitz and then spy on what was happening there. He then escaped and survived the war, but sadly he was executed by the Soviets in 1947. The World War II Museum is extremely well done. It's not about the good guys and the bad guys, they just tell you the thing as they happened. There are a lot of portraits of people from the Jewish community that have been executed. The Nazis, of course, we know how they worked. You had the humans and the subhumans. Everyone that was not German. This is the Maréchal Pétain here, the French collaborator. The Poles were obviously very disappointed when the French capitulated and collaborated. Now, could the international community have acted a little bit sooner? Maybe. This is the building with all the international ambassadors. Gdansk had been under the Nazi regime for a few years before the war. So a lot of people had been executed before the war. The Nazis couldn't kill everyone because they wanted the economy to keep running. But they eliminated all the people that were a bit too educated, all the entrepreneurs, Boy Scouts, anyone that could rebel. One of the amazing things that the international community and the Brits did, of course, it is the Kindertransport. So just before the beginning of the war, a lot of Jewish children were taken away from those occupied countries, put on a train and sent to Britain to start a new life. Some of those kids are still alive in the UK. There are interviews of them on the internet. Fascinating. This young boy, it is Frank Meisler. Frank was born in a Jewish family here. He is the artist of those amazing sculptures that you can find all across Europe. You might have seen one of them in my tours, the one in Liverpool Street. That's where a lot of those kids arrived in the UK. Later on in his life, he moved to Israel and he created those amazing sculptures to remember those kids by. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that little video. Sorry, it was a sad one. If you wanted to see a bit more of me, do check my live section. Most of what I do on YouTube is actually live streaming, so I hope to virtually see you there.